CrossFit.
Round 2. Okay, sitting down with Sarah. I want to redo it too. This is our second effort, but I spoke way too long. But the reason we're sitting down, she's a registered dietitian and she has a master's in dietetics and nutrition and understands all the stuff that we can't help our athletes with. We know soccer. She knows how to fuel your body. And we want our athletes to have a knowledge of everything in every aspect so they have the best opportunity at being their best. So first question, who are you and what do you do?
I am Sara Piecukonis. I'm a registered dietitian. So I've studied in school nutrition and nutritional sciences. And I'm also a CrossFit level 1 trainer currently. I've been a trainer for about 2-3 years now. So yeah, that's what I do, what I am.
What is your future goal? Like, what's the big picture with nutrition, dietetics, and then CrossFit as well? You can go your like North Star, like your dream job, and then you can also go like, what's the next 3, 4, 5 years look like?
Oh yeah, my dream job is of course being a sports dietitian for a professional league or college. I love college athletics as well. But in the next 3 to 5 years, it's just gaining that experience. I do have a bit of experience under my belt working with college athletes and the like, but just in the meantime, just learning where exactly I want to go with all of that and just building my foundation.
What brought you to that? Besides just like wanting to eat well? Because,
yeah. Okay, so when I was in my undergrad in college, I was on the competitive cheerleading team, and I because we were considered athletes at the school I was at, so we were treated the same as every other.
I've seen the documentary.
Yeah.
So I didn't respect it, honestly. Before I saw the documentary, I was like, whatever, cheerleading. Like, I was like, because I knew what you did, so I know gymnastics, but I figured like half the team did gymnastics and the other half just like pom-pommed.
Oh yeah.
And then I watched that documentary and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, go.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, it's crazy that that's out now, because now people finally get to see like the behind the scenes of college cheer and the athleticism that we actually have.
Cool. Did you do cheer?
I did cheer in high school. I did all-star cheer, and then I did high school cheer simultaneously. So
okay.
Yeah, I didn't plan on doing cheer in college. I thought, honestly, I wasn't good enough. I was kind of one of those athletes. But once I made the team, I was like, oh, okay, like, yeah. But that also fired the spark for, like, wanting to be the best athlete inside and outside of practice. And that's what eventually led me to changing my major from nursing to nutrition, because I was telling my teammates, like,
what the heck are you eating?
Yeah, I had to learn like the hard way of how to like care for my teammates and what they were eating, because I wanted to eat good, and so therefore I wanted them to eat good as well, because it was a team sport. So yeah.
They're the one holding you up. Or
yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. That's so crazy about cheer too, because one of the things I like about soccer, and we talk about our athletes, is like play free. It's in here. Like when we play pickup games, it's relatively unstructured. We ask them just have fun, go for it. In cheer, it's and what I'm learning now, it's so structured. It's the exact opposite. Like if you don't hit this at this moment, it ruins everybody's opportunity.
Oh yeah.
Blows my mind.
Oh yeah, you should see the text.
So if you're not eating your spinach, you're ruining everyone else's.
Pretty much, yeah. It's very hands-on. It's a hands-on sport, which a lot of people like don't really think about. Compared to other sports as well. So.
And then CrossFit came from cheer, or?
Well, I had torn my ACL my sophomore year in college, so I know like what it's like to be injured at that level, and then coming back from it was like a big deal for me. But the way I did was I decided to join CrossFit once I recovered from my surgery. And that literally, like, I surpassed like all my teammates within months with my athleticism, because I was so dedicated with both nutrition and getting back in shape. So, and then I just fell in love with CrossFit and the competitiveness that it has too, because most college athletes, they miss that once they are done with their college career. It's just CrossFit kind of filled that void.
Got it. So you made the decision to go into nutrition as opposed to nursing, which is what you originally did. And then you said you're a registered dietitian. So what's the difference between, because you have a few different things. So you have an undergrad, you have a master's, and then you're registered. So where do all those fit into the time and space?
Well, basically, we always like to say, like, what's the difference between a registered dietitian and a nutritionist? Basically, if you're a registered dietitian, that means you've done all the schooling for it. Like, you have to have at least a bachelor's from an accredited program, from a university. My undergrad was not accredited, but I still wanted to finish at that school and graduate because I was so involved with cheer and all that. And then I went on to get my master's from an accredited program. And we have to get a master's eventually anyways, so I was like, might as well get it now. And that was a 3-year full-time program. So, and then in addition to that, we have to have 1,200 hours of supervised practice. Similar to nurses, they have to have so many, hours before they can sit for their boards, and same with us. We have to have so many hours, finish all our schooling, and then we get to sit for boards. So it's a protected name under a governing body, which the nutritionist title is not protected. Anyone could technically call themselves a nutritionist. And yeah, so that's what we battle with as registered dietitians.
So like, I could say I'm a nutritionist because I know about nutrition.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, which I am not a dietitian. I don't know like the details.
Oh, yeah.
I just know my body.
Yeah.
I know what works for me.
Which is amazing to know that, because people don't.
That's about it. Purpose of this interview is educating people on some of this knowledge that you have, so they can call themselves nutritionists. But not really. But just educating people that are interested in the athletes that come in and out of here, and the parents that come in and out of here. That's a big thing for us. Is educating the parents so that they can then help their kids. Because in reality, the parents are the one driving the car. The parents are the one paying for the club, all that stuff as well. And when adults come in, they talk about like macronutrients, micronutrients, all that stuff. Do you have an opinion on tracking macronutrients and all that in terms of body composition and those things? Do you care, or do you think it's important? Or
I think it's definitely beneficial to be able to track your macros, because it teaches you a lot. It teaches you a lot about portion sizes, how much of like types of macros in foods, especially if you're eating out, being aware of like how much is actually in that, or how much is not in that if you're trying to get enough protein, or if you're watching your sodium intake. So I think like for just the foundation, it's good to do. I don't think it's vital for like performance or health or even body composition, but I think it can have its benefits. But if it's something that's gonna put like a damper or like a added stress in your daily life, then maybe not. But it just depends on your goals, and it depends on your lifestyle, and if you have that time to do it. So
yeah, it's hard sometimes because you think of macronutrients, you think what I'm eating and all this stuff, but when we're talking about the athletes that come through here and parents supporting their athletes, it's not so much about like what do they look like. So because you've seen in your sport and in my sport, and like we've seen across just being a collegiate athlete, there's there's track athletes, and you're like, man, he's big and he's the best shot put thrower in the country.
Yes
And you're like, okay, well, if it works for you.
And it's hard because you can't put a number like macro wise on every person, even if they're the same like height and weight. Like it's everyone's individualized. Everyone reacts to nutrition and like working out and all that differently, so no one's gonna look the same. When you were helping your teammates in college, were you helping them in terms of those macronutrients and what you knew at that point, or were you helping them performance wise, like you want to win is my guess? I definitely I knew that the only way that we were gonna set ourselves up best for success was if everyone individually was working on themselves to maximize their performance, therefore to maximize the team performance as a whole.
If there was like a shortcut to macronutrients, what would you say? Like, I have a guess of what I think I would say, but if someone was like, macronutrients, I want to track that, I want to be better at my sport, but I don't want to get so in depth that I have to take a chemistry class. What would you give? What's like the short
version?
Like, what do you think's what macronutrient do you need, or what balance?
Okay. Above all else, if you're an athlete or you work out a lot, it's definitely getting enough. Everyone will be not surprised by this, but protein, and then also just enough calories, because people most of the time they're not eating enough. Like, they're eating good, but like if you're not eating enough for your body, then you're still not going to be able to maximize your performance and let your body do its thing when eating the food that you're fueling for practices and games and stuff. So it's protein is above all. I always say like you should have protein like every single meal or snack, because it's the only thing that can't really be stored in our body. We can store carbs, we can store fat, but really protein, there's really nothing there for it to be stored in. So you have to constantly be eating, especially if you're constantly working out. So
okay, protein. So that's one of the hardest ones, because everyone right now there's a popular trend where people want to try vegetarian, vegan, those kind of things. Yeah. So if I'm vegetarian, I don't have any protein in my system.
Well, that's not technically true. You can get protein from any source, I believe, personally, but it's just you just have to eat more of those foods in the plant-based spectrum of it all. So like if you're wanting to really make sure you're maximizing your protein intake, if you're a vegetarian or even vegan, it's just making sure you're eating high protein foods with high like water content foods, because the more protein you eat, the more water you need to be having.
What is a high protein? I almost said vegetable. A high protein
plant-based
not
food.
Meat, plant-based food.
Yeah,
there you go.
and so
and then what's a high water base? Like, so what would I eat?
So like, okay, so like a good meal would be like having tofu. That's a very high protein plant-based food. But then like your carbs, it does have carbs in it, but then in addition you can have like beans with it. But then the high water content would be like any non-starchy vegetables, any green vegetables.
Cucumber.
Yeah, cucumbers, broccoli, like things like that. That will benefit you as well, because a lot of people nowadays eat very dense foods that that the water has been like taking out. So like,
what does that mean?
Like just like they eat more like starchy foods and like potatoes and so you just want to make sure you're eating a variety and eating enough vegetables and whole vegetables, not like just like green like leaves. So
like you're saying like not romaine. You're saying, like asparagus
like you need
broccoli.
to be put in like whole vegetables in your meal, especially if it's a salad.
I've heard so many people that want to be skinny, which is not performance, but they're like, celery expends more calories. Is that A, is it a water-based vegetable? And then B, do you expend more calories chewing it than it exists? I've heard that before.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, I don't see it as it's called a synergetic food. So I don't. Celery, I mean, it has fiber. You do have to chew it. So in that like sense,
I put so much almond butter on it anyway. It doesn't matter.
I know, yeah. So I feel like it's just as, if you're saying it in that sense, like it's just as good as like every other vegetable then, or every other vegetable is just as good as that.
Yeah,
but
it's green stuff. It has fiber.
Yeah, I wouldn't see it as like a superfood, that term that people use.
Yeah.
Because people, they use that term and they like forget to focus on the more simple foods like broccoli and carrots. Like those are still great foods that you should be eating.
But a superfood has to have like an exotic name.
Yeah,
and it has to be dried and powdered.
Random, weird nutrients and functional ingredients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they call micronutrients. Mm-hmm. And do people track those? Is that trackable?
It is trackable. Yeah, if you're using like a MyFitnessPal app or something, it will show you macronutrients. I think you have to pay for like premium though or something.
Okay.
But yeah, nowadays, like especially at the higher level of sports, they are getting more into blood work and seeing like what they're deficient in with every single nutrient, because technically there is an amount you should be having for every single vitamin and mineral every day, but the best way to do that without having to do blood work or constantly tracking is just to make sure you have variety and making sure that every bite you take literally is something that's nutrient dense and not calorie dense. Something that's not processed or packaged, but more so like just whole foods like berries or vegetables, all that stuff. So that's the biggest thing.
I told my girls we're prepping for a game. I coach a club team as well. We're prepping for a game, and I told them to eat colors. And one of the girls said, "Does Fruity Pebbles count?" I was so sad.
Trust me,
I think she was kidding, but I was so sad.
No, yeah, I'm on Skittles. I've gotten so many. Yeah. But I know you. Yeah, variety, color. When it comes to like making a meal, like I always say, just like making sure you have a protein, a color, and a carb. And the color is usually like a fruit or vegetable. So just making sure like there's a rainbow
So not like fried chicken, fried potatoes, and
exactly.
ketchup.
Yeah,
Ketchup doesn't count.
No. Does not.
Because I have seen that.
Yeah. All those added sugars, which is like the new like trend right now.
Is to not have added sugars, is to eliminate.
Yeah. It's like that's what the food companies are like promoting or marketing now, is like making sure like that like there's less added sugars, but they actually changed the food label. In recent, like past like 2 years, they changed the actual food label you see on every package to where they have to have sugar, the amount, but also under it like added sugars, and that wasn't there before. That's because it was like a consumer demand. So
people wanted to know how
they
much
want to know added
sugar.
sugar. Yeah.
Because you eat an apple, there's a lot of sugar in it.
Exactly, but that's not. You shouldn't have to worry about that.
Okay.
You should be worrying about like, you know, sugar that came from like a lab rather than, you know.
If you have apple juice, then you want to know added sugar.
Oh yeah. Which you should be getting 100% juice anyways. But yeah, just in case.
I'm gonna swing back to the macronutrients from micro, because we were talking about protein and the value of it. One of the trends you hear in college and high school athletes is carbo loading.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on carbo loading, and then also the timing of it? If you're having a pasta party Friday night, but your game is Saturday afternoon, does it still help?
Well,
or does it help in the beginning, I guess?
It's if you're doing it on a regular basis, then like your body's used to it. It knows like when you're going to eat it. It knows your body loves like structure. It loves timing. So, if you're like, say like if you're, you know, like you're an athlete, but then you want to try to do like a marathon or something.
I don't know who would do that.
I know, right? But just like something that you don't usually do. People like think of the carbo loading and they're like, oh, well, I have to make sure I like eat a bunch. But if their stomach isn't used to that, they can actually cause like intestinal, like GI issues. But the best, like the night before is great. Yeah, I would care more about your hydration the day before than the carbs, because you still want to eat a good amount of carbs 3 to 4 hours before a game. At least like 40 grams to 75 grams. I don't want to put a number on it because everyone is different, but yeah, at least around that for your carbs 3 to 4 hours before practice or a game. And then if you know you're going to be hungry and you need something like sooner than 30 to 45 minutes before a game or practice, then you should have like something that's a carb that's quickly absorbed so that it can be used.
My favorite growing up, and now it's turned into what's it called when you like have to do it for game day? Like a ritual. I guess.
Oh yeah.
Like I think ritual. I'm gonna lose if I don't do it.
Superstition.
And superstition. There you go. I couldn't think of it, but it grew out of it. Just worked and it was easy to pack. And then now I have to, if I'm gonna play soccer, it's applesauce cup.
Oh yeah.
I'll do that and that's so in soccer we'll generally warm up an hour before we compete. So like right before we start that warm up, I'll have an applesauce cup. That's kind of my like thing that I do now. And the more I learn, and the more kind of what you're saying, I learned that was actually smart, but that was an accident. It was just my thing.
Yeah, no,
it's easy to pack because you could just stick it in.
Exactly. It's really not like that hard to make sure you have food or like that you're eating snacks and stuff. Like you just pack it. I always just keep stuff in my car. Like I keep dried fruit in my car, nuts, in case I ever am hungry and I don't have anything around me. So
you're the second person. So I have a friend that's also a registered dietitian. She doesn't live locally here, and you're the second person I've heard, because she calls herself a hoarder, and she just keeps a box of snacks in her car.
Yes.
So it must be something that you're taught.
Yeah. Oh, it is, and it's just being mindful and being prepared. Like that's the biggest difference, is preparing and actually like taking the action to make sure that you're not gonna have to like eat something that's like gonna probably not benefit you. It's still like gonna help, like give you energy, but it's not gonna maximize the nutrition you need for recovery and performance.
So carbo loading Friday night or eating a big pasta dinner, probably positive for the food and the calories.
Yeah.
Or maybe negative if you don't normally do it.
Yeah, but also you still want to make it balanced. You still want to make sure you have protein, you have your micronutrients, so making sure you still should be eating vegetables with it. That's still carbs and all that. And then, if you want to have that big plate spaghetti too, that's fine. It's just you don't want to fill up on mostly on just one like
Yes.
macronutrient. Yeah. Because it's gonna take away from eating like the other things that's gonna like cover those bases. So like just eating something that's like mostly carbs and then you're getting full off of it, you're not gonna want to like make sure you finish eating like your protein or stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You should do all like that first and then finish off with like a bunch of spinach.
We brought we brought regular pasta, and then we have cauliflower pasta.
That's good.
And then we have quinoa. So does it make a difference on like the quality of pasta you eat?
I mean,
Or
it just depends on what you're eating it with. If it's like probably the only thing that you have on hand, or if you're struggling to get like your protein, then cauliflower pasta. This one has protein, a lot of protein actually, versus this is mostly carbohydrates. It has a little bit of protein, but not that much. Like this one only has 5 grams per serving. But yeah, it's just you still want to make sure you're putting other foods groups with it. This one, it has a good amount of protein and carbs, but it doesn't have any fat. So you want to make sure that you have some sort of fat source with it.
That's crazy to say that because I think people get scared of it.
No.
And they get scared of fat. But what is enough fat when you say that? Like, if I were to cook that in olive oil, is that enough fat? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I were to put olive oil on my pasta and eat it like that?
Oh, yeah. I think that, because people always, I do. I put more than I need to when I'm cooking on the pan or anything. But
just because I don't want to clean them.
Yeah. And so I think I would count oils. Olive oil is definitely one of the better options. I'm big on avocado. Any plant-based fats would be great. But if you're gonna put chicken with it or something, and it's a little lean, but there's some fat, you'll get fat from that too.
Like a meat sauce. That's what my mom used, bolognese or whatever. My mom used to make that.
Oh yeah. That's
meat sauce and then pasta and then hopefully a little salad on the side or something.
Yeah, no, that's perfect because you don't want to restrict fats. Definitely don't want to restrict fats because certain vitamins need fat to even absorb in your body, and so people who restrict that, they're not going to get enough of those nutrients. So
maybe not drink Chick-fil-A sauce.
Yeah, no.
But I get what you're saying.
Yeah. It's always making sure everything's balanced. All your meals are balanced. You always have some sort of protein, some sort of carbs, some sort of fat. So, and then the next step would to think of okay, how nutrient dense is this food source of this macro? If you want to take it to the next level. I've also done one-on-ones and figured out how much calories they really need, because most of them, like I said, they don't eat enough and they think they are, and the ones I do work with, it's because they have struggle mentally with food and the relationship with food isn't very healthy. So it's just making sure they are eating enough. And people always probably think it's because they need to eat less, but no, I'm working with people who don't eat enough.
Yeah. I see that a lot in athletes that I've worked with where they're panicked that they're eating too much. And I don't have the experience you have, but I had a collegiate athlete who met with me and I was like, why don't you just get an app that tracks it and track everything you eat for the next 3 days, and then we'll come back in and we'll kind of just see what you eat. And my intention originally was just to see what she does eat. And she came back and every single day she was at 1,400 calories. Yeah. And she was 5'5", a midfielder in soccer, so that means you box to box.
Yeah. No.
And I was like, I don't even know. I didn't even look at the rest of it. I was like, I feel like you're just not eating enough.
Yeah.
You need more. And she was like, but I'm going to be fat. And I'm like, I don't think so.
But yeah, my next question for her would be how do you feel during practice? How do you feel during games? Are you finding yourself crashing? Is your energy going down? You should be having energy to last the entire practice, the entire game. And that means having stuff while you're at your game or at your practice.
What about even studying? What we get with a lot of the high schoolers is they go to soccer practice and they have the energy because you get up with the adrenaline, and then they have to study. And I'm not saying till midnight, I'm saying till 10, 11, and they're like, I'm falling asleep at my desk. Could that be the fueling?
Oh, yeah.
You're not eating the right things. So yeah, it's difficult to study and do your work. at night because you haven't eaten throughout the day.
Oh yeah. And the thing with like high schoolers is most of the time they're skipping breakfast, and that's what I've seen most of the time. Yeah, they skip breakfast, or they're not hungry, and then that leads to them eating like a very big lunch, but not so good lunch also. And then they'll have a snack before like they train or practice, but it's probably like something very processed and not balanced. So a lot of them are eating just very high carb, high processed, high energy foods, which in the moment it's giving them energy, but then they crash really hard because they don't have the protein and the fat that's going to sustain that energy in their blood sugars for the rest of the day. And then so it's optimally like they're missing out on the other nutrients that they could be having for recovery after. Like they'll eat like a big dinner maybe, but it's like to eat big like meals isn't like also that beneficial. So
I've heard you can't absorb like after a certain amount of protein you can't absorb it anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's still like a controversy, but you definitely want to be eating throughout the day and just like a good amount, but not just like trying to cram everything in at once. Because it's gonna overwhelm your body.
I mean, it makes sense just because you're so full, then now you don't feel good or whatever it may be. I had a question because I asked like all my friends. I was like, okay, I have somebody who knows her business coming on. What questions do you have? And one of my friends, she has a 1-year-old. She's a marathoner. Like she trains for marathons, one of those crazy like ultra marathons. And she's just very, very intense. And she also works full time as a teacher. And she was like, I never eat breakfast. Is that bad? And I was like, I'll ask. So it sounds like you're saying it's not good, but not because of nutrition, more because of like you need to start fueling. Yeah,
I mean, they say like you should be, eating within 30 minutes to an hour of waking up, and that's just to get everything going. Because when it's called breakfast, like you're breaking your fast from overnight sleep. Most of the time, though, people aren't getting enough sleep. Like you should be getting like a good fasted sleep is like 8 hours, but people don't usually get that. It's usually like 6 or less. And so like they're eating before bed, but then when they wake up, they're either not hungry or they're starving because they didn't sleep long enough. So their body's like, okay, what do I eat now? What? But if they're like not hungry, I would still say you should eat something, like even if it's like a banana or like just something, just to get everything going, because your body will go like start to slow down, or at least research has said your metabolism slows down like later in the morning if you haven't eaten anything, because it's like, okay, I haven't eaten anything, I'm gonna just slow everything down to make sure I have enough fuel for the rest of the day. Rather than but then you're also missing out on maximizing your nutrient intake if you're skipping meals. So it's not bad to skip snacks, but if you're skipping whole meals, then it's like, okay, like, are you able to make that up like for the rest of the day?
That's one of the trends right now, the intermittent fasting.
Yeah, and it's not bad. But it just depends on, if you're an athlete, that you should not even be thinking about that, in my opinion. You should just be thinking about making sure you're constantly fueling your body, because you're constantly like breaking your body down, training all the time. It's constantly needing nutrients to recover. So if you're not giving that to your body, then you're not going to recover as fast for the next practice or the next game, because it's over and over and over again. So.
Is there a time and place for fasting for athletes, or do you think maybe wait until post-athletic career?
I mean, off season, if anything, off season. But most of the time, I don't think weight is a problem, because most people do intermittent fasting for weight loss, but shouldn't be an issue. That shouldn't be a mindset for an athlete. It just depends on the sport, though. So for soccer, you guys are pretty good with your athleticism, and
we're not working with like wrestlers that need to hit weight.
Yeah,
that's just that's not the group that we're working with. We're working with athletes, and they all play different positions too. Like some of the athletes, their job is more explosive, like a goalkeeper, it's more explosive and quick and short. And then sometimes like a player who's on the outside of the field, they're like a marathon runner, they're getting up and down. Like an outside back has to get, box to box all the way up and down the whole field. So even their bodies are different within the game.
Yeah. Every position is different. You can definitely individualize someone's like meal plan to their specific position, which is pretty cool. But like with intermittent fasting, I'll add that it's just another fad. It's another trend. So every single kind of diet out there, the end goal across the board is just a calorie deficit, and that's like the goal for intermittent fasting is just eating less, because you're just only giving yourself a certain amount of time to eat. But if you're an athlete, then you're missing out on, nutrients, recovery, because more than likely you're not going to be able to make up that much calories, because you're probably burning so many. You probably have such a high calorie goal as an athlete that you don't even realize. So
I mean, just realistically, right? You're an athlete. You're trying to be stronger in whatever. Let's say it is you want to kick a ball further. You want to backflip higher. Like whatever you're trying to do in your sport, you have to have more muscle. So muscle requires fuel. So food is fuel. So you need to have those calories.
Yes.
If you're going to build the muscle. Otherwise, you're not going to get faster no matter how much you train.
Oh, yes. You need carbs to build muscle. Like, you need more calories to put on more muscle. And protein, it's not just the protein. Protein's not what builds muscle alone. Protein helps to repair more than anything and recover. And because when you're, breaking down your muscles, you need to replace that. So protein does that. And then carbs, it is stored in your muscles as glycogen, and that's the primary source of energy for your muscles, and glycogen is only used for muscle energy. So it's just if those stores aren't filled or not being replaced, then you're going to hinder your performance, because your muscles don't have enough energy to handle a prolonged game or exercise.
The other trend, the one that's I don't know if it's dying. I was going to say I think it's dying, but I don't know, is keto.
Oh.
So you're saying you fuel your muscles with carbs. Keto says you don't need to do that. I don't know who keto is, but he told me that.
Keto is, it's an interesting diet. I wouldn't say, it has its benefits, but more in the
I was going to say, wasn't it originally formulated for what?
Epilepsy.
Okay. It was originally formulated for epilepsy patients.
Yes.
So that they don't have epileptic seizures.
Yes, yeah. The source of fuel, it was helping with decreasing seizure episodes, but it's still such a new diet that there's obviously not enough research to see the long-term effects of it, and that's the big thing that I worry about when I hear people who are doing keto.
Doing keto. I have so many friends that are doing keto, and it just means they eat butter.
Yeah, there's there can be a right way to do it. I know vegans that have tried it. Imagine being vegan and trying keto. You only have so many fat sources to use. A lot of avocado. Literally, yeah. So I think that it's a very tough subject to talk about, because we don't my dad does keto sometimes, so it's worked for him, weight loss wise. That's the main goal that people do it for, is weight loss.
Circling back, all these diets are for weight loss. Is that your goal as a performance athlete?
Yeah, no, and you should not think of dieting as an athlete at any age or level. You should be thinking of just fueling your body for performance, and then if you want to look good, if you're that disciplined, if you're actually eating the right foods and all that and variety, your body composition will come second, I think. I have always said that, it's fuel first, and then looks are usually secondary to that, depending on your body type.
Yeah, within your body type. I'm not going to all of a sudden be short. It's just not going to happen. But, yeah, if you're fueling for performance, then your body's naturally going to look a certain way, but if you're performing, then it's probably going to look for the sport.
Yeah, it's always you want to think about how you're feeling first. That's the main. That should be your priority. It's just, how do I feel? Am I hungry right now? Should I eat something? Did I cramp up during a game or during practice? Why did I do that? What did I eat that caused that? Those should be the questions you should always ask. It shouldn't be am I eating too much? Is this gonna make me lose gains or
with a Z,
weight?
gains with a Z.
Yeah, gains with a hashtag. So it's.
What about post workout? So pre-workout, talking the carbo loading the day before, maybe not. the 30-minute window before. So there's a thing about the 30-minute window after you finish training. Do you think it's important to fuel within that, or is that window bigger than we think? And what do I fuel within whatever that window is?
Right. So the thing used to be like you should have like protein shake right after you work out. But yeah, the window for it is wider than people think. If you're not a supplement person, especially if you're like younger, they don't usually care or do that thing. They shouldn't have to do that. It's just within 2 hours, just making sure you have a good balanced meal with protein. It will, like, that should be enough for you. And I've had to tell people that. They're always worried, like, oh, I don't have anything with me right now. I'm like, well, that's fine, but when are you going to get home? When are you going to have dinner? And they're like, oh, this time. And if it's, like, past, like, 2.5 hours, I'm like, okay, like, do you have anything you can have right now to just keep you, like, satisfied and start the recovery process until you get to that dinner. Yeah. So that's why I always say always keep snacks with you, because like if you're like here and you're done with your practice and you have something, like I would have like at least, you know, a banana and like even chocolate milk if you're like a young one. So
why do you say if you're young?
Because more than likely that's like they're not gonna want to, you know. A lot of them aren't hungry right after.
Yeah,
a lot of them aren't. Yeah.
So drinking is easier.
Drinking is way easier, and chocolate milk is like an attractive drink. I feel that they think is like a treat, but it's actually can be beneficial. It's balanced. It has, you know, enough carbs, protein, a little bit of fat in it to start the recovery process until they get to that dinner.
Okay, I like that. We at our facility we have a vegan protein that's like a pea protein drink, and then we have a muscle milk, and then we have coconut water, and we have Gatorade.
Okay.
So all our classes are an hour. Pickup games are an hour. Everything's an hour. So it's an hour of training. We do have kids that do multiples. They'll do a class and then they'll play pickup. So of those kind of options, what do you recommend that I snag on my way out? And I'm going to put in a fifth option, water, but I know they should be having that immediately.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Before training, it should be water. During, it should be water and or a sports drink.
During, you're saying sports drink?
During.
Okay. So only. You think Gatorade has value during?
I think it can, but the thing with Gatorade, it was originally designed for elite level athletes, like Olympic level, like people who are training 4 to 6 hours a day. Like, so it's just, you know, I say like it's fine to have, but either have just like a little bit of it or dilute it with water, like mix it, because you really don't need that unless maybe for a game, because the games are long. Yeah, you need to replenish your carb stores and your electrolytes, which that will do. But also, like, water still will be fine. You'll still be fine just drinking water. But if anything, just during, and then after, or during the coconut water as well. That would be a more healthful option than Gatorade, in my opinion, because Gatorade tends to have like the high fructose corn syrup and like the more processed stuff. So if you care about like, you know, GMOs and, you know, what you're putting in your body, then the coconut water would be probably the better option. But then after, you said the chocolate milk?
We have these ones. I think we put them out. Well, we just have.
Oh yeah, so the muscle milk would be
the muscle milk thing, and then we have like a pea protein vegan one.
Those would be good for after, for sure.
And these are easy too because they don't have to. I think the reason I like this is because you can throw it in your bag and it doesn't have to be refrigerated.
Yeah.
And this is the protein. It is a protein shake. So it's like we were talking about the supplements. Mm-hmm. Kids don't necessarily need it. And you're saying because they have the Tetra Pak, which is like these flaps of just chocolate milk, and you're saying that's sufficient.
Yeah.
And it's probably cheaper than.
It is cheaper, and it's a perfect ratio of carbs to protein. Because essentially they say you want to have like a 3 to 4 to ratio of carbs to 1 protein for post-workout.
Okay.
So this is a good option, and then chocolate milk covers that also. But for after, and then depending on your goals, like if you're trying to keep gain weight, then during a game or practice, this would also be good because you're making sure that your body's staying, not being depleted.
So you're in like a calorie plus.
Yeah, you want to stay in a calorie plus.
I look at that sometimes. I track just because I'm always curious, and I just try. I like to know what I ate.
Oh yeah.
It's probably a little bit neurotic, but I just like to know what I ate, and I like to at the end of the day. But it doesn't mean I can't eat stuff. Like I was telling you earlier, like yesterday I had some ice cream. I'll put that in there too, because then I wake up the next morning and I feel not so good or something, and I can look back and be like, "Yep, that was it," you know. And sometimes, or like today, I woke up and I felt absolutely fine, and I did have a scoop of ice cream last night. So I mean, it fit into my diet fine for whatever reason.
But did you have like a good meal before that? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like as long as you're making sure that you're getting like your nutrients first. Like that's what I always think. I have a sweet tooth, so I will make sure I have like a really healthy, balanced meal. And then if I'm like still have that sweet tooth, like I'm gonna have that chocolate because I know at least I got all my nutrients in. Like my body's gonna be able to still.
And you're not exactly sedentary.
Yeah, no.
You work out still, so yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's the same with me. Like if I'm starving, I'm gonna have a scoop of ice cream, or if I really want a sweet, and I already had last night. We had we grilled. So we grilled, and then we had salad, and the salad had like cranberries in it, and kale and all this stuff. So I felt good about that. And then ice cream came out, and I was like, you know what? I really want it.
Yeah.
Let's roll.
It's like, sounds good. Let's do it. Yeah. No. Yeah. You just don't want to replace like, anything with something that's not going to benefit you. Something that's more energy dense. Like for example, like a snack. Like if you have, the option to have chips versus like an apple. Like, have the apple first because you want to make sure you're getting your nutrients in. And if you're still hungry, chips is all you have. Then maybe have that, but just like wait and see. Like, do I really want it or need it? So,
okay, yeah. And then, do you think the same focus on all the fueling? Do you think it applies more or less depending on age? So, if I'm a collegiate athlete versus if I'm 10 years old, do you think in terms of those age groups, does it matter more or less what I eat? Because we had a question from a parent that was like, my kid's, I think he's 11. And he's starving all the time. And she's like, I can't grill him chicken and steam him broccoli.
Oh, no, yeah.
At some point, I've just got to, like, shove some food in him, so we have Cheez-Its. And so I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Okay, yeah. So when it comes to, like, the little ones, like, they're in such, like, a, like, constant growth period that it's just making sure they are just getting enough calories because you don't want them to hinder their chance of like maximizing their growth period, and if you're if they're always hungry, then it's just maybe have them have the more energy dense foods, more like fats and things like that. Like if you can try your best doing it less processed, but also like it's just more energy. Like they burn through calories like no other, and especially if they're little athletes, like they're gonna need more than you think. For the older adults, like it kind of shifts in like sensitivity. So like the adults tend to become more sensitive to carbs as far as their body response goes, and needing more protein. So like when you're younger, it's more just you need more calories, so more carbs and fats and all that. Protein still, but as you get older, it kind of just shifts. And I just think that, like my nephew, he's had a problem with his growth because, well, he's short and he's a little one. But they would tell my mother-in-law or my sister-in-law to just have him eat more because that's probably what it was. It's just he wasn't eating enough, and it was stunting his growth, and you just don't want that to happen. Like, that should be the main priority.
Yeah. And if that's because that's what we were talking about with that parent. It was like, I fed him a hamburger, so he had meat and this and blah, 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 and he had a bag of carrot sticks, or we went to Subway, and he had a sandwich, and he had the apples, and he had a glass of milk, and he's still stinking hungry. Like, okay,
it's
so
totally normal.
What do I do with him? But there has to be healthier snacks.
Yeah, there are healthier snacks.
We can do that because we brought in some stuff. We can do like games like that. Not games, but so we brought in some of the stuff we wanted to look at was like fruit and nut butter, because I know like when you're trying to make football players 300 pounds, they like shove nut butter in their face.
Oh, they do.
And then we have a bunch of bars as well. We have berries, which I've heard are lower sugar fruits, but I don't know if that even matters. But there has to be processed foods I assume there are processed foods that are better than others.
Yeah, no, so if you're the type that you're a busy parent and like bars are like the go-to, which it is for most people, like it's in every store, every gas station, like those are good options. If just what you want to look for, if you want it to be more mindful, is to make sure that those bars have at least like 6 to 7 grams of protein. It has less than, you want to watch the sugar content. That's the biggest issue with bars, in my opinion, is just the added sugar.
Candy bars.
Yeah, so they're like a lot of protein bars, because people love the protein bars, tend to just be, candy bars with protein in it at the end of the day. So you want to like make sure.
I'm curious how much protein is in a Snickers bar, because there's peanuts in there.
Right.
So it might be like protein-ish.
It could, yeah. People will probably argue like, well, it's Snickers. Yeah.
It has 6 grams of protein.
Yeah, so no, it's just like, it's the sugar, added sugars. So like, aim for like less than 10 grams or 10 grams or less.
Let's see.
Some of these have more sugar than that, but they do have enough protein. But also they have enough fiber. So you do want to look for fiber as well, because that's going to keep you full longer.
So this one, I love these. I stopped eating them later as I got older. Like you said, as a kid, I could probably eat 3 of these and not be full. As an adult, I'll sometimes for breakfast eat like a half of one with like coffee or whatever. But so this one has 21 grams of sugar and includes 21 added sugars.
Right. So it's purely like... And you do, like, it is okay, but it just depends on the source of where they, like, got that added sugar. Like, if it's, like I said, high fructose corn syrup, or if it's cane or beet sugar, more than likely you want to stay away from those, because those are more inflammatory. If it's from, like, a more natural source, then it'd be okay if it was added in there.
So those ones have about 9 to 10 grams of protein. With like 40 grams of carbs, and half of them are sugar.
Right. So, I mean, if it's like the only option you have, it's fine, especially for kids, because it has a lot of carbs.
I was going to say for the athletes, especially like for the high school athletes I have, I would actually, and you can disagree, I would recommend these because of what's in it. It's like oat fiber, peanut flour, like it's like things that I can pronounce. When you get all the way to the end, the only thing I really can't pronounce is mixed tocopherols.
Yeah, tocopherols.
But it says antioxidants.
Yeah, it is antioxidants. It's vitamin E. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So so that's the only thing I can't pronounce in here. Everything else is real things, like rolled oats, honey. So as much as there is a lot of sugar in it, at least it's kind of a real food-ish.
Exactly, yeah. You want to try to, pick the bars that have the least amount of ingredients, is what I always say.
Okay.
And the top 3 ingredients are the ones that are going to be the most ingredients in there. So if sugar is in that top 3, then it might be a very high sugary bar. But also it's just like you don't want to rule it out just because of that. But if you can find something better, then I definitely would.
This one says protein in big letters.
Yeah. So a lot of advertisement. Yeah.
Which is the same as what Cliff. This one doesn't say it.
Yeah, but a good thing what I love about Lar bars is that they have very simple ingredients.
Yeah.
So
this one is 3. Dates, peanuts, pea protein, semi-sweet chocolate.
Oh yeah, that one.
And sea salt.
Yeah. So
that's it.
That's very Because if like I said, if you're a bar person and that's like the only way you're going to be able to feed your kids or yourself snacks, then just be mindful and actually look at the ingredients, not just, how much sugar's in it or protein. Like, look at the ingredients in it.
I tend to like these because you can see what's in them.
Yeah,
I
love
like
that too.
I like that you can see, like, I'm eating almonds. Concept, yeah. There's coconut chunks. And so I like those ones, but I don't know sugar-wise what's... this one only has 13 grams of sugar, which is much less.
That's not terrible. And I think that
which is funny because a lot of the kids, so like if I have a team of their 12 to 13-year-olds, right? So if I brought them in here, they would not pick those because they look healthy.
Yeah.
So they don't want it. They probably wouldn't pick these either because when you, like fruit,
yeah,
they would probably pick that.
I brought this because it's a good example of more of like a chocolate bar with protein in it, and it has a ton of ingredients. Like, it looks like it has at least 20 to 30. So
you're basically eating a candy bar.
Yeah, it's super processed.
How much protein is in that one?
This one has 12 grams. It's like not even as much as you would think.
Yes, so all these. So this is 11. This was like 9 and 10 through these. This one has 8. So they all have pretty similar protein across the board. Yeah. But in terms of ingredients, like hardly any.
Yes, because if it's less ingredients, you're gonna have more of that ingredient and usually they're good ingredients. So you Larabars love to use dates as their sweetener, and that's like, even like if you don't mind eating dates as a whole, like that's a perfect like carb snack. And then when it comes to like, if you are able to do more whole food snacks like berries or fruits, even vegetables, berries are like, to me, like the best because it is low sugar. Yeah, it is low sugar, but more importantly, like they're jam packed with micronutrients. Is what
it's a good way to get them.
Yeah, it's perfect. Those are like, I don't want to say gold standard. I don't want to put like them to like higher than the other fruits, but it's definitely one of the better options. I wouldn't worry too much about the sugar because it's a whole food. But first of all, they're like super colorful and they're super dark in color, and the darker they are and the more colorful, then that means they have more nutrients in it. Yeah. So
that is interesting. We got bananas too. So when I grew up, my mom is a lovely woman, but she's a little bit crazy. So she used to not let us eat the whole banana because she said there's so much sugar.
Right.
Is that a reality?
I mean, for an athlete, that shouldn't even be like the mindset. Okay. Yeah, it's more so like, and people think like, oh well, I want to eat bananas because it's high in potassium, so I don't want to cramp up. Which it does have potassium, but there are other foods that have way more, like avocados. So, like, don't just think that you can only get it from bananas. But this is a perfect pre-workout snack. And even post-workout, it's the only thing you have because it has fiber, it does have carbs, but it's quick absorbing. So, yes, it has more sugar than, berries, but if you are needing a pre-workout snack, maybe bananas because they're, like, it's more, and you have it a lot faster. Yeah. And that's what you need.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's all snacks.
Yeah, and then other snacks like apples and peanut butter, like that's a perfect combo because you're getting your healthy fats, not only fat, but monounsaturated fats, and that's what you want more so than like, animal fats or inflammatory fats. So that's a good snack. Just making sure you always have like a protein with a carb, or if you can't find a protein source for whatever reason, then a fat, like this is more of a fat source, but it does have protein in it. Just combining it because you don't want just carbs because you will probably crash. Like, even if, like, none of us are, like, as athletes mostly, unless you're type 1, like, none of us are, like, type 2 diabetic, but you still want to consider your blood sugars and making sure you're being mindful of what you're eating so that you don't crash during workouts and practices, because that's essentially what is happening. Like, your blood sugars are, like, crashing because you just had something with really high in sugar, it raised your blood sugars, and then it goes down really fast because you don't have that protein or fat that makes your blood sugars, like, stay up high for a long amount of time, basically. So
in layman's terms.
Yes, in layman's terms.
Okay, so breakfast. My question on breakfast is, we're talking about sugar and not having too much so you don't crash, but it's difficult to eat high protein and get your fats in at breakfast because all the breakfast foods are cereals, oatmeal, granola, that's like a thing.
Yeah.
So it's all these more high sugar things.
I mean, if you can prepare the night before, then that would be awesome. Like doing, those overnight oats with protein powder in it, or, boiling eggs the night before, and then just taking that. Or even, like, bars that have to be, like, refrigerated that are really good. But, like, yeah, it's just either preparing the night before, grabbing, like, something that, like, even, like, if you can, like, make a smoothie real quick, like, just making sure you have, your carbs, protein, fats in it, like, that should be good too. Like, it's just, yeah, I feel like I'd rather eat than not eat at all. So I've had I work with athletes that they'll like wake up literally 5 minutes before they have to be at weight training or their morning practice, and I'm on them about like you need to like eat something because you're not gonna be able to last the entire practice fasting. Like that's basically what you're doing, and
you're going on hour 9 of fasting.
Yeah, and you need to give your muscles energy to be able to fully perform in practice. Like you should be practicing how you perform. That's what like we used to say on my college cheer team, like practice how you perform, because once you get to performance or a game, like you're not gonna like you want to know like what your body's capable of already, rather than be assuming like, okay, well my adrenaline will kick in, like I'll be able to do it better then. Like no, like you should be already doing it better in practice. But for that reason, you should be like feeling for practice, and if you're practicing how you're performing, then you need to be feeling for like how you perform. So like it all goes full circle.
That's probably like the best training advice besides like all the nutrition and all that. Like the best, like you have to train like you play.
Yes.
Otherwise when you get to the playing, you're gonna feel real weird.
Yeah, you're not gonna
and same with your eating.
Yeah, and so you got to practice how you feel while you're practicing. Because you're going at that like extra level, and so you'll know what you need to eat for game day or for like that big like tournament, whatever. So, and you don't want to like introduce something new the day of when you don't know if your body's going to respond good to it or not. So It's like during the week or during practices, that's like you're practicing for fueling and for like performance. So yeah.
I have a question generated just now based on that. A lot of the trend you see right now is energy drinks, the Bang and the I don't know, any other word that sounds like it's fast, velocity or something like that. I don't know.
Right, yeah. But so it's like caffeine, okay. I mean, obviously it depends on the age. Like if you're young, you shouldn't be having it.
If you're 10, maybe no.
Yeah, no, there's like a limit, like 100 milligrams or something that they should be having, which energy drinks surpass that. I'm a big coffee drinker, but that will be my pre-workout. My heart rate already gets so high from that kind of workout. Like I didn't need that extra caffeine or energy for that. But
I do like to use my coffee to get some stuff too.
Yeah.
I know they have like the MCT oil you can put in your coffee.
Exactly.
And sometimes I'll put a half scoop of protein powder to flavor it.
Yeah, me too. I do that too.
My coffee becomes, there's caffeine as well, but it kind of becomes my breakfast.
Yeah, it becomes like an opportunity to get some nutrients in. Yeah, that's perfect example. But also the energy drinks, the biggest, downside to them is obviously the added stuff in it. So sugars, even if it says 0 sugar, okay, but they're usually replacing that with sugar alcohols. And the thing with having so many grams of sugar alcohols is, it kind of messes with your GI, messes with your stomach, because it doesn't get digested. It goes to your large intestine basically. And that's what causes like the bloating and the gas. And it's not a nutrient, but it's also not really useful for your body. So it doesn't get absorbed; it goes through you. And if you're having so much of it at once, you probably might start cramping, especially during like training, and you just don't want to like give your body that chance of doing anything negative to you while you're responding negatively while you're training. Like you want to set yourself up before, like so that no mishaps happen. Like you're not gonna have to go to the bathroom or something. Like it's just every minute of practice or training or anything should be accounted for and should be planned. And if it's preventable, then you should be trying to prevent it.
If I've learned anything in the last hour, it's can you fuel yourself using the nutrients so that you don't need the caffeine.
Exactly, yeah. If you need the caffeine, then there's something going on probably in your diet that you're not doing right to be able to have enough energy to last you. Sleep is a big factor that people just don't really they probably think about, but you gotta take it more seriously. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're not allowing your body to recover. You're not allowing the nutrients that you ate during the day to be used during recovery. So if you're not recovering long enough, and then you're going back at it the next day, then, you know, that also is not going to help your performance. So sleep and hydration are two other things that are very big that I preach to athletes. Then also your hormones, which is like a huge, it's like the new like trending topic in like sports nutrition. Not new, but it's like being talked about more. Like if you're not getting enough sleep, that's going to affect your growth hormones as a teenager, or as an adult. It's going to affect just like your hormones in general, and especially because adults have so much stress. It's just an additional like damper on recovery.
I do think that's what's cool is there's so many more outlets today to have, for me to have this conversation with you, and for our gym to offer this, you know, this conversation to all the athletes, and just the knowledge that is accessible. I think there's no excuse for not trying.
Oh yeah.
I didn't have access to the
Right.
information. Like you can Google now, like, hey, I weigh 150 pounds and I want to make sure I'm getting enough protein. What might that look like? And there's like, and they're, you know, they fluctuate a little bit. You can get an idea at least.
Oh yeah, we're in the age of communication and information, which can be beneficial, but it's hard because there's so much misinformation out there that it's like, okay, but what is really right? And that's
Look at this guy. He's an intermittent
Exactly.
fasting keto athlete, and he just lifted the most weight ever.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly. And
That works for him.
Yeah, the big trend is like someone who, you know, decided to eat like something healthy that allowed them to lose like 50 pounds, and all of a sudden they're like this like nutrition expert. So, and then they are like coaching other people. So
Yeah.
that's like the biggest trend right now, especially on social media.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Taylor's crying.
But it's just, you know, always, I feel like, see what their background is, you know, where they got their nutrition, you know, certification from, if that's what it is, or, you know, what their education background looks like, to really be safe and trusted by them with the information they're giving you.
And I think there's coaches that they're really invested in their sport, so they understand what works in their sport.
It's just being mindful and just like not just assuming that one way is the best way. Also, it's just being open-minded. It matters of what you're putting in your body. So if you're blaming yourself or blaming your genes on your performance, like, then yeah, you gotta take a step back and look at like your mentality and your relationship with food. Because like if you're doing everything you can outside of practice to help your like body recovery and your performance, and then you're still saying that, then maybe like, okay, maybe something it needs to be looked at more seriously, like from a medical professional or something. But if you're not and you're saying that, then like you like, okay, well, like, what are you eating? Like, are you actually eating good for performance? And it's just, like I said earlier, like you want to feel your body for performance first.
Because it should be, I would like you to keep track of how many passes you've completed.
Yep.
Did you try to do the move that you learned at touch and go?
Yep.
Did you, were you able to get up and down the field the whole game and do all the things you wanted to do? And if you were able to do those, then it shouldn't matter how you look when you're doing them, because you're going to get the approval of your teammates, your coaches, your friends. Everyone's going to love you because you're, you know, the starting goalkeeper and you're doing your job.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, no, I've had teammates that, oh man, like you could tell that they were starving themselves. What are your goals? Like, what are your long-term goals? Do you want to get to that top level? Do you want to like become like part of the USA team? Like, you got to, you know, throw the whole looks out the window. Like, even like I was a cheerleader. Like, cheerleaders, that's like a huge priority.
Crop top.
Yeah, even like Division I teams, like the coaches have like, they will like pick girls based on like how they look, but performance still in their mind is first, and their potential. If you want to get to the next level, you know, it's about feeling your body. Like, don't worry about the looks.
You see these boys at 10 years old and all they're thinking about is how they're going to play for Manchester United or, you know, whatever pro team. And then as they get older, like 15, it's like, well, does my hair look good? Do the girls like me?
Yeah.
But I still kind of want to play for Manchester United. Am I, you know what I mean?
Yes,
And it grows as they grow, and your priorities do change.
And like, if you want to win that championship, it takes a lot of work. And I know this from like personal experience. Like my team, I was part of the team when they first won their first 3 national championships.
Jeez, I didn't know it was 3.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I was on the team for the 3 years, and actually I decided not to do a 4th year for grad school and all that. But they're still, since then, have been the reigning 7 times, but they're Division 1 now, too, and they're still winning. So it's
really?
like, yeah.
When is the documentary about them coming out?
I know,
so
right?
They transitioned divisions and they still won?
Yeah. Their first year in Division 1, because I was Division 2 with them, and then they went Division 1 last year for the first time and won. And that's a big deal to be able to do that. So bottom line is I know what it takes. It takes so much work. And my team wasn't even like super big on nutrition, but I was the one trying to get everyone on it. So if you're looking to go to college and be a part of like a really good team that you want to win with, like, you got to look at like all the resources that they have too. Like, do they have a sports dietitian on staff? Like, do they have even like a nutrition center for their athletes? A lot of colleges do now, because they're recognizing that nutrition is playing a bigger role in separating like the, you know, good teams from the great teams. That should just tell you that nutrition is that like important, and it will separate you from, you know, the person next to you that you're training with, but you both are technically competing for that spot of wherever in the future. Yeah. You could end up competing for the same spot, whether it be 5 years from now or 10.
Difference maker.
Yeah.
Love it. So where can people find you if they want to know more in terms of, yes, social media, website, where do you work currently? So where can they come talk to you or train with you? Those kind of things.
Okay, yeah. So I am on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just search my name, Sara Piecukonis. And then also I currently coach at CrossFit Kindle in Riverside. I do sometimes coach at CrossFit Foothill in Rancho Cucamonga, so you can find me there. You can train with me. You can put my email in too.
I think that's it. I really want to eat the snacks.
Can we?
Yeah. What else are we gonna do with them? I'm like watching the apples go a little